Hi, my name is Ava. Today I am reading Dragon Masters, Treasure of the Gold Dragon by Tracy West. Chapter 1, A New Mission. In an underground classroom in King Roland's castle, the Dragon Masters were planning to save the world. Griffith, the royal wizard, stood over a map of the island of Savarna. The Dragon Masters, Drake, Rory, Bow on it, and Petra gathered around them. You must leave for Savarna right away, Griffith began. But let us review what has happened so far. We know that Maldred needs two keys, the silver key and the gold key, in order to awaken the Naga. A huge and powerful dragon who can destroy everything, Rory piped up. Exactly, Rory, Griffith said. Drake and Bow tried to stop Maldred from stealing the silver key, but as you know, Maldred got away with it. We are very sorry, said Bow. We tried our best. It wasn't your fault, Anna cried. Maldred is the most powerful dark wizard ever. I feel like we let everyone down, Drake thought. Then he said, We will not let Maldred get the gold key. Maldred is already on his way to steal it now, Griffith said. The gold key is kept in the gold lair. The lair is hidden inside a mountain on the island of Savarna, and it is guarded by the gold dragon. We need to leave, Roy said, tapping her foot. Maldred could have the key by now. I fear you may be right, Griffith said. Drake, please ask Worm to transport you, Rory, and Vulcan to Savarna. I need the others to stay here with me for a special mission. Yes, Rory cheered. I gotta go. Petra gave Rory a hug. Good luck and be safe, she said. Drake and Rory hurried to the dragon caves. Drake looked at his big brown earth dragon. Are you ready, Worm? The green dragon stole Drake roar around his neck began to glow. It was a piece of the dragon stone. The magical stone had chosen all the Dragon Masters. Every Dragon Master wore a small piece of it. The stones glowed when the dragons communicated with him. Drake heard Worm's voice inside his head. I am ready. We're all set, Drake told Rory. Then Rory put one hand on Vulcan, her red fire dragon. She put her other hand on Worm. Drake smiled at Worm. Please transport us to the mountain that Griffith showed us. Worm's body began to glow green. The light became brighter. Drake felt his stomach flip-flop. When they landed, they were standing on a rocky mountain ledge. The air felt warm on Drake's skin. Drake looked up. The gold dragon flew across the sky. A dark-haired boy rode on his back. Drake's mouth dropped open at the sight of the dragon. Shining gold scales covered her whole body. Her wings curled and reminded him of bird feathers. She was beautiful. But then Drake heard a loud roar in the sky. Boom! It sounded like thunder. He turned. A purple thunder dragon was chasing the gold dragon. A woman with black hair rode on the back of the purple dragon. Drake knew them both. He gasped. It's Iko and Iru, he cried. Look, there's something in Iko's hand, Rory said. She squinted. It's the gold key. Chapter 2, Battle in the Sky. Drake shaded his eyes with his hand. The sun made the scales of the gold dragon shine brightly. He also noticed a gold object glittering in Iko's hand. Rory was right. It looked like the gold key. Not long ago, Iko had tried to steal Worm and the other dragons from King Roland's castle. Rory had left to live with her for a short while before learning Iko was not a good dragon master. Is Iko helping Maldred now? Drake wondered out loud. Maybe, or maybe she wants the gold key to herself, Rory replied. Either way, we can't let her take it. Rory jumped on Vulcan's back. Vulcan, fly, she said. The fire dragon flapped his huge wings and flew toward the two dragons in the sky. Drake turned to Worm. Can you transport us up there so we can get the key from Iko? He asked. Nero's shield is too strong, Worm replied. I cannot transport past it. Drake looked up. The thunder dragon's body glowed with purple energy, forming an energy shield around him and Iko. The gold dragon shot gold beams from her eyes. The gold beams hit Nero's shield and bounced off. Vulcan, break the shield, Rory yelled as they flew closer to the thunder dragon. Vulcan shot a bolt of flame from his mouth. It hit the shield but didn't break it. Nero roared loudly. A portal of swirling energy opened up in the blue sky. Iko looked at Rory and laughed. Then she and her dragon flew through the portal before it vanished. No, Rory cried. She and Vulcan flew down and landed next to Drake and Worm. The gold dragon and the dark-haired boy sat down slowly and gracefully beside them. For a moment, Drake forgot about Iko and stared in wonder at the gold dragon. The boy climbed down. He wore a white skirt and a skirt with a dragon pattern on it. Around his neck he wore a green dragon stone. I am Dharma, he said, and this is Hema, the gold dragon. We are the guardians of the gold key. We know the Thunder Dragon's dragon master, Iko, Rory said. Did she just get away with the gold key? Dharma nodded. She did, he said. The gold key is gone. Chapter 3. Was that magic? Rory stepped closer to Dharma. How can you be so calm? She asked, her voice rising. If Iko is working with Maldred, that means he has both keys. He will be able to release the Naga and destroy the world. Who is Maldred? Dharma asked. He is a dark wizard, Rory replied. The baddest guy you'll ever meet. Dharma closed his eyes. After a few seconds he opened them. We can still stop him, he said calmly. How do you know that? Rory asked. Drake decided to step in. I'm Drake, he told Dharma. This is my dragon Worm, and this is Rory and her dragon Vulcan. Dharma nodded. It is nice to meet you, he said. You too, Drake said. We knew Maldred was coming here to steal the gold key. I'm sorry we didn't get here in time. Dharma smiled. That is okay. You are here now. Rory interrupted. We have to figure out where Iko went. She turned to Dharma. Were Iko's eyes glazed over red? Dharma shook his head. They were not. Rory frowned. I thought maybe Maldred put her under spell, she said. But I guess he didn't. So if Iko is helping him, it's because she wants to. But why? Does it matter? Drake asked. She has the gold key now. She probably took it to wherever his hiding place is. Right, Rory agreed. We need to find Maldred's hideout and get there fast. Dharma spoke up again in a soft, calm voice. I know how to find Iko, he said. Follow me, please. Dharma and his dragon began to walk up the mountain. Drake and Rory followed as they walked. The silver sword tucked into Drake's belt felt heavy. Jim, the dragon master of the silver dragon, had given it to him. Will the gold layer look anything like the silver layer? He wondered. The silver dragon's lair had been filled with piles of amazing treasures. Soon they heard the sound of running water. They came to a small waterfall. Dharma motioned for them to follow him. Then he stepped behind the waterfall. Drake and Rory and the dragons followed. They were inside a damp, cool cavern. 6 dragon statues, each as tall as the dragon masters, formed a circle in the center. They're beautiful, Rory whispered. Dharma walked up to one of the statues. He pulled down on one of the dragon's tails, and a door slid open on the cavern wall. Dharma led them through the door into a dark tunnel. Drake couldn't see a thing. They walked for a few minutes. The tunnel opened up into a big, bright room lit by torches. Gold lined the walls. Dozens of gold treasure chests glittered on the torchlight. A large gold platform topped with big, fluffy pillows sat in the center of the room. The gold dragon must sleep there, Drake guessed. Dharma smiled. Welcome to the lair of the silver dragon, he said. Chapter 4. Golden Treasures. This is a nice lair, Rory said, tapping her foot, but we need to find out where Iko went. Dharma nodded. He walked over to the wall on the right and then stopped. Iko and the Thunder Dragon entered the lair through this wall, he said. This is how she broke in and stole the gold key. Iko can make portals when he roars, Drake explained. The portal is not here anymore, but magical portals have a great deal of energy, Dharma said. They usually leave some energy behind. Are you saying you think we can still travel through the nearest portal even though we can't see it? Rory asked. Dharma closed his eyes and held up his hand with his palm facing the wall. Then he began to move his hand in a circle. A slowly swirling circle of purple energy began to appear on the wall. The portal! Rory cried. Drake gasped. Are you sure you're a dragon master and not a wizard? He asked. Dharma smiled. It is easy to find energy if you know where to look, he said. The portal will close very soon, but before we leave, let me give you each something. Dharma opened one of the treasure chests. He took out a red jewel hanging from a gold chain. He gave it to Rory. This is for you, he said. Thanks, Rory replied, and she slipped the chain over her head. Then Dharma walked to a different treasure chest. He pulled out a vest made of gold chainmail. He handed it to Drake. Please, put this on. Drake put the vest on over his shirt. It felt a lot lighter than he thought it would. Thank you, he said, but why have you given us these gifts? I believe you will need them, Dharma replied. For what? Rory asked. We will know when the time comes, he replied. Dharma walked back to the portal. He held his hand against it. Then he turned back to Drake and Rory. The portal's energy is weak, he said. Not all of us will be able to travel through it. The dragon must stay here. What? Rory cried. How can we fight Maldred and Iko without our dragons? We will find a way, Dharma replied. Drake turned Worm. I do not want to leave you behind, Worm, he said in his mind. His dragon stone glowed, and he heard Worm's voice inside his head. Follow Dharma. Find the gold key. Time is running out. Worm says we should go, Drake told Rory. Rory said, fine, she said. Then let's do this. She pushed past Dharma and stepped through the portal. The two boys followed her. Chapter 5. The Wizard's Plan. The portal quickly disappeared behind the three Dragon Masters. They stepped into a tall round tower. A spiral staircase led down to many floors below. Torches mounted on the walls lit up the space. The light was dim, but Drake could make out strange faces painted on the walls. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up at the side of them. Then Rory tugged on his arm. She put a finger to her lips and pointed down. At the bottom of the tower, a wizard dressed in a long red robe stood at a desk. He had a long black beard with a white stripe, and he wore an eye patch over one eye. It's Maldred, Rory whispered. This must be his secret hideout, Dharma said, and that must be his workshop. Look at all those books and potions down there. Drake peered over the railing. Maldred was 5 floors below them. Drake could see that walkways broke off the staircase and circled around the tower all the way down. There were doors on each side of the floor. This is a huge hideout, he thought. Where in the world are we? Down below, Ika walked up to the desk. She held a gold disc with unusual markings on it. It glittered in the candlelight. She's working with Maldred, Drake thought. Ika handed over the gold key. Maldred, I have brought you the key, she said. The wizard smiled. You did well, Iko, he said. And now together we will release the Naga, Iko said. We will create a world where dragons can be free. Drake had heard Iko say something like this before, when Iko tried to steal the King Roland's dragons. She had claimed that she wanted dragons to be free. She didn't believe that dragons should have dragon masters. Maldred held up the silver key. Now, I have both keys, he said, but I still do not know where to find the Naga. I have read every page of the lore of the Ancient One, but the book does not tell me where the Naga lives. He angrily slammed his fist on the desk. Perhaps the answer lies in the keys, Iko suggested. They have markings on them. Maldred raised an eyebrow. You may be right, he said. I will need to study them. Let me help, Iko said. There is one way you can help me, Maldred told her. Keep an eye out for Griffith's dragon masters. We cannot let them stop us from waking the Naga. If you see them, show them no mercy. But we can't hurt them, Maldred, Iko said. They're just children. Maldred stared at her. I said no mercy, he repeated. Nothing must stop my dream of ruling the world. You mean our world, of freeing the dragons, Iko said. Maldred smiled. Of course, my dear, of course. Rory whispered loudly to Drake. Does Iko really think Maldred's going to set the dragons free? He's tricking her. He wants the dragons for himself. Shh, Drake warned. Suddenly Rory yelled, Don't trust him, Iko! Chapter 6. Maldred's Helper. Maldred's head snapped up, his eyes fixed on the dragon masters at the top of the tower. Dharma, quick, Drake cried. Open the portal again. Drake turned around, but he didn't see Dharma anywhere. Dharma, he called out. Rory grabbed Drake's arm. We have to hide, she said. Let's go to one of the tower rooms. Maybe there is a window we can climb out of. Drake and Rory raced down the spiral staircase. Drake's heart pounded. Then from the corner of his eye, he saw a flutter of red fabric. Maldred floated up toward them, his body glowing with red energy. 2 dragon masters, how nice, he said, with an evil laugh. You are like mice in a trap. You can't catch us, Rory cried, still racing down the steps. Maldred pointed at Drake and Rory, extending his long fingers. Of course I can, he said. I am a wizard. Suddenly Drake felt his whole body tingle. I can't move, he cried. Me neither, Rory yelled. No, you could not, he said. So you won't be needing your sword anymore. Drake watched helplessly as his silver sword floated out from his belt and into Maldred's hand. Then Iko came running up the staircase. Lock them up, Iko, Maldred ordered. I will deal with them later. Iko grabbed Drake and Rory. Maldred snapped his long fingers and Drake felt the tingling stop. Don't try to run, Iko warned. Maldred may not be so easy on you next time. Iko led them to a thick wood door. She opened it and shoved Drake and Rory inside. Why are you doing this, Iko? Rory yelled. You're smarter than this. He's just using you. Maldred understands me, Iko said. He understands how I feel about the dragons. I thought you did too, Rory, but I was wrong. Don't bring me into this, Rory shot back. Mildred is using how you feel about the dragon so he can trick you. Can't you see that? He wants to control dragons. He does not want them to be free. Eagle glared at Rory. She turned away and slammed the door behind her. Drake heard a clicking noise. He ran to the door handle. We're locked in, he cried. Chapter 7. Trapped. Rory started pounding on the door. Let us out of here, she yelled. Drake looked around. The room was bare except for a rickety wooden table and a water jug. An eerie glow streamed through the bars of a tiny window high up on a wall. I'll try to contact Worm, he said. I know he's back in the gold lair, but maybe I can contact with him. Maybe he can help us escape. Drake closed his eyes. Worm, can you hear me? He asked. Drake opened his eyes and looked down at his dragonstone. It didn't glow at all. He sighed. We'll have to find a way out of here on our own. Rory pushed the table over to the window and stood on top of it. Drake held the table steady. It's so weird out there, Rory said. Glowy and strange. She yanked on the bars. It's no use, she cried. She jumped down from the table. We're trapped. Maybe not, Drake said. Drama has got to be inside this tower somewhere. Maybe he will come and save us. He's probably in some kind of trouble too, Rory said. Drake slumped down on the floor. Mildred can't keep us in here forever, he said. We'll just have to escape the next time he or Eco comes to open the door. That's if anyone comes at all, Rory said, sliding down to sit beside him. They might leave us in here until Mildred and the Naga destroy the world. Or maybe Mildred will come and put a dark spell on us to force us to help him with his evil plan, Drake said. The two Dragon Masters got quiet, thinking about this. I will keep trying to contact Worm, Drake said finally. He held his dragonstone close to his eyes and tried again. And again, Worm didn't respond. Drake started to worry. We're separated from our dragons. Dharma is missing, and Mildred has my sword, he thought. There's no way we can stop Mildred now. Chapter 8. Run! A few minutes later, the door creaked open. Drake and Rory jumped to their feet. Someone shoved a tray into the room, then quickly closed the door. Drake and Rory ran over and pounded on the door. Let us out! Let us out! They shouted. They yelled until their throats were sore. Then Drake looked down at the tray. It held bread, cheese, apples, and 2 mugs of water. His stomach grumbled. I'm starving, he said. Rory watched as Drake ate bread and cheese. Then she took some for herself. They sat on the floor and ate until every crumb was gone, except for the apple cores. Drake suddenly felt very tired. Of course I'm tired, he thought. I haven't slept in a really long time. Let's get some sleep, he said. If Mildred does try to hurt us, we'll need our energy. I'll stay awake and guard us, Rory said. But she yawned too. Drake leaned back against the wall and dozed off. He wasn't sure how long he had slept for when a voice awakened him. Get up! Ika stood over him and Rory, who had also fallen asleep. The door to their cell was open. Wake up, Ika said. Mildred wants to see you. Drake and Rory stretched and stood up. Iko, who stood behind them, pushed them forward. Rory looked at Drake and mouthed one word. Run! Chapter 9. The Secret of the Keys. Drake and Rory dashed through the open door and raced to the spiraled staircase. They bounded down the steps to the next walkway and headed for the nearest door. Before they could reach it, 2 glowing red orbs appeared in front of them. The glowing orbs quickly surrounded the Dragon Masters. Drake's skin prickled as both orbs floated down to Mildred's workshop. They landed in front of Mildred. Drake noticed his silver sword propped up against the workshop wall. Pop, the orbs burst like bubbles, freeing Drake and Rory. Ika ran into the room. I am sorry, Mildred, she said. They surprised me. Mildred scowled at her. I need you to keep a better watch over my prisoners, she said. I'm going to need them. What do you need us for? Rory asked. Let me show you what I have discovered, Mildred said, rubbing his hands together. I was staring at the markings on the keys when it came to me. Watch. He picked up the silver disc and pressed it into a dish of black ink. Then he pressed the disc onto a clean sheet of white paper. The raised markings on the keys were stamped on the paper. Now the gold key, he said, and he repeated the process. He stamped the gold key right on top of the design left by the silver key. Rory gasped. That looks like a map, she cried. Exactly, Mildred said. Then he covered the paper so Drake and Rory couldn't see it. I recognized the islands on it. Now I know where to find the Naga. You can't do this, Rory yelled. You can't destroy the world. I don't want to destroy it, Mildred said. I want to rule it. Everyone will bow down to me with the Naga by my side. As Mildred cackled, Drake spotted something out of the corner of his eye, a flash of gold moving along the bookshelf. He blinked. It looked like a mouse, a gold mouse. He blinked again, and the creature was gone. How strange, Drake thought. You still haven't said what you need us for, Rory said to Mildred. I learned something very interesting in this book. When I summon the Naga, he will be very hungry, the Dark Wizard said, and his eyes glimmered as he grinned at Drake and Rory. and I know the perfect snack for a giant, hungry dragon. Chapter 10, Eco makes a choice. You can't feed us to the Naga, Drake yelled at Maldred. Rory stomped over to Eco. Do you hear that? Do you still want to help them? Eco looked at Maldred. Surely, Maldred, you cannot be serious, she said. It is not necessary to harm the children. The Dark Wizard scowled at her. I shall decide what is necessary, he said. As long as the Dragon Masters live, they will try to stop us. This will solve that problem. Let me watch over them, Maldred, Eco argued. They won't escape from me again. While Eco talked, Rory grabbed Drake's hand. They slowly backed away from Eco and Maldred. First one step, then two, then three. Then Rory signaled Drake by squeezing his hand, and they both dashed away from Maldred and Eco. Maldred pointed at Drake and Rory, and sizzling red lightning shot from his fingertips. Drake felt a jolt go through his body. Then he realized he wasn't moving. Maldred had frozen them. Don't you see? You can't escape me, Maldred said. I shall cast a spell on you both, putting you under my control. That will keep you out of trouble till it is feeding time. Maldred moved his finger, and Drake saw Rory float up through the air toward Maldred. She stopped right in front of him. Look at me, Rory, Maldred commanded. She's frozen just like I am, Drake thought. Soon her eyes will glaze over and turn red, and she'll be under Maldred's control. Then I'll be next. I can't let you do this, Maldred, Eco cried. She shoved him away from Rory, sending him sprawling on the floor. Drake felt the magical hold release on him. He and Rory dropped to the ground. Enough, Eco, Maldred said as he rose to his feet. I don't need you anymore. He dipped his hands into his pocket and came up with a handful of sparkling red dust. He tossed the dust at Eco. The red dust sparkled, and Eco disappeared. Chapter 11, A Spell is Cast. Rory yelled at Maldred. Where did you send Eco? What did you do with her? Maldred just grinned. Now where was I, he asked. He zapped Drake and Rory again with his red lightning. Once more Rory floated in front of his face. No, Drake thought. He struggled to move, but he was frozen. Maldred stared into Rory's eyes and chanted, Your will is gone, your will is mine, your will is gone, your will is mine. Rory closed her eyes and nodded. Rory, no, Drake yelled inside his head. Then Rory floated to the ground. Maldred zapped her again to unfreeze her. Next, he pointed at Drake. Drake floated through the air and stopped right in front of Maldred. The wizard stared at him with his black, glittering eye. Your turn, Drake, Maldred said. Drake tried to close his eyes to resist, but he couldn't even move his eyelids. Your will is gone, Maldred chanted. Your will is mine. No, it isn't, Rory cried. She grabbed the bubbling potion from Maldred's table and tossed it in the wizard's face. Maldred screamed as purple smoke billowed from his beard. Somehow Rory escaped Maldred's spell, Drake thought as he dropped to the floor. He wasn't frozen anymore. Rory helped him up. They dashed upstairs and ran down the walkway. They entered the first room they found. Inside was a large window with wooden shutters. Rory and Drake ran into it. The shutters are locked, Drake said, pulling on them. Rory stepped up next to him and tried to help him pry them open. That's when Drake noticed that the red jewel around her neck was glowing. Look at the jewel Dharma gave you, he said. It started glowing when Maldred was putting that spell on me, Rory replied. I think that's why the spell didn't work. The jewel protected me. But you really looked like you were under Maldred's control, Drake said. She smiled. I know, I fooled him pretty good. Dharma knew what he was doing when he gave you that necklace, Drake said. Then he remembered the gold mouse. And I have a feeling he's still going to help us somehow. They turned back to the shutters just as Maldred stepped into the room. You cannot escape me, he cackled, and red lightning flew from his fingertips. Chapter 12, Rescued. Drake and Rory dodged the wizard's lightning blast. Then, hey! A strange cry filled the tower. A golden eagle flew into the room. The large bird picked up Maldred in her claws and flew away with him. Drake and Rory looked at each other, eyes wide. Let's get out of here, Rory said, turning back to the window. Not yet, Drake said. I think we should follow that eagle. If the eagle is who I think it is, she might need our help, he thought. Drake ran out of the room. Rory sighed and ran after him. The large eagle flew down to Maldred's workshop. Maldred squirmed in her sharp golden claws. Dharma stood there. He was holding the silver key and the gold key. Those keys are mine, Maldred yelled. His legs dangled over the ground. They are not yours, Dharma replied. They were never yours. We must keep them safe. I will do everything in my power to get those keys back, Maldred said. You will not get them back, Dharma said. We've got to look Maldred up, Rory told Dharma. Dharma looked up at the golden eagle. Hema, make sure Maldred can't move. I knew it, Drake thought. The eagle was Hema. The eagle set Maldred down. Before he could run away, she shot streams of golden energy from her mouth. The energy wrapped around the wizard like a rope. He couldn't move. Drake turned to Dharma. We've got to get those keys out of here, he said. There appears to be no escape from this hideout, Dharma said. It is located in some kind of magical space. So that's why it looked weird and glowy outside, Rory said. Maldred cackled. You cannot escape, and you can't stop me, he said. When will you Dragon Masters learn? I don't need my hands to magic. I only need the power of my mind. Suddenly, an army of red orbs appeared in the workshop. The orbs zoomed through the air, wildly shooting around the space. Rory dove under the desk. Drake moved to follow her when one of the red orbs zoomed right toward him. Drake! Rory yelled. Chapter 13, Gold vs. Red. The orb hit Drake in the chest. Drake had seen Maldred's red orbs take down strong palace guards. He knew how powerful they could be. He expected to be sent flying, but the orb bounced right off of him. How am I not hurt, he wondered, touching his chest. Then he felt the gold chainmail vest Dharma had given him. The gold vest protected me. Angry, Maldred scowled at Drake. The wizard's whole body began to glow with red energy. The gold energy that was wrapped around him dissolved into glittering dust. Maldred pointed at Dharma and sent a red orb flying toward him. The orb surrounded Dharma, and he began to float toward Maldred. Those keys are mine, the wizard yelled. Rory climbed out from under the desk and ran toward Dharma. At the same time, a golden light exploded from the eagle. The light filled the room. When it faded, Hema the gold dragon stood there. The dragon's eyes flashed. She roared and shot gold beams at Maldred. The dark wizard held up both palms and created a red energy shield in front of him. The dragon's beams hit the shield but couldn't break it. The red energy absorbed them. Roar! Hema couldn't break through Maldred's shield. Instead, she turned and hit a blast of gold energy at the orb surrounding Dharma. The red orb burst, and Dharma tumbled to the floor. The silver key and the gold key flew out of his hands. The keys! Rory cried, and she dove after them, but Maldred was closer. He scooped up the 2 keys. Then he sprinkled sparkling red dust on top of his head. In a flash, he disappeared in the red orb's light bubbles. Chapter 14, The Magic of the Swords. Maldred got away, Rory yelled. He knows where the Naga is, and now he's going to destroy the world. We've got to go after him. But we don't know where the Naga is, Drake said, and he felt tears sting his eyes. We failed. We have not failed yet, Dharma said. We do know where the Naga is. The boy held up a map. The map Maldred made using the 2 keys. Drake's eyes got wide. It looks like those islands make the shape of a dragon. We've got to show this to Griffith. He'll know where those islands are. Rory looked at Dharma. How did you get that Maldred's map? Dharma grinned. A little mouse brought it to me, he said. And he looked at Hema. I knew it, Drake cried. Hema can change into other animals, not just an eagle, Rory asked. Yes, Dharma replied. She can transform into anything from a tiny bee to a large elephant. Whoa, Drake cried. That's an awesome power. It is, Rory agreed. Then she frowned. But how did Hema get into the hideout? I thought you said dragons couldn't make it through the portal. That was true. The portal's energy was weak. Hema transformed into a mouse so she was small enough to come through, Dharma answered. That explains a lot, but where have you been? Drake asked. Yeah, where were you when we were getting captured? Rory added. By the time we entered the hideout, I could sense that we were about to be discovered, Dharma replied. If you sensed that, why didn't you warn us? Rory asked. I'm sorry, everything happened quickly, Dharma replied. I knew I would have a better chance of helping us if I was not seen, so I hid. You saved us from Maldred, so I guess you did the right thing, Drake said. I guess so, Rory said, but Maldred still got away. We have to get back to the gold lair, Drake said. One can transport us all back to Bracken from there. Are you forgetting something? Rory asked. We're like trapped in this hideout in some magical space or something. Rory is right, Dharma said. We need a portal to get out of here, but we have no way of making one. Drake sighed as he walked across the room and picked up the silver sword. At least I have my sword back. Dharma's eyes widened. Is that from the silver dragon's lair? Drake nodded. Yes, June, the silver dragon's dragon master gave it to me. The silver and gold treasures are all connected to the dragons who guard them, Dharma said. I think you may be able to use your sword to make a portal that takes us to the silver dragon. That would get us out of here, Rory said, and then Drake could contact Warren. I get it, Drake said, but how do I open a portal? Make a circle in the air with your sword, Dharma replied. Drake held the silver sword in both hands and made a circle. Again, Dharma said. Keep going. Drake made circle after circle. Finally, the air began to swirl with silver light. A new portal appeared. You did it, Rory cheered. And Drake grinned at her. Excellent, Dharma said, and he and Hema stepped through the portal. Chapter 15, Silver and Gold. Drake and Rory followed Dharma and Emma through the portal. Drake blinked. Argent, the shining silver dragon, stood in front of them. Jane, his dragon master, grinned at Drake, but they were not in the gold layer. They were not in the silver layer. They were in the gold layer. Drake was confused. Argent, Jane, he asked, what are you doing here? As soon as our king gave us leave, we came to join you and take back the silver key, she answered. Argent tracked the silver sword here, where we found Worm and Vulcan waiting for you. Worm, Drake cried, and he ran over to his dragon. Then he turned back to Jane. We were inside Maldred's hideout. Ick was there. We tried to get the keys back, but he has both of them now, the silver key and the gold key. Jane frowned. That is bad news, but we will stop him. Rory patted Vulcan's neck and looked at Jane. So you're Jane, she said. Nice armor. Thanks, Jane said. You must be Rory. Worm told Argent all about you. Dharma nodded to Jane. It is nice to meet you, guardian of the silver key. I am Dharma, guardian of the gold key. Jane smiled. We thought we would never leave our layers, and now look at us. There will be time to get to know one another later, Rory said. Mildred has both keys. We have to find him and stop him. Rory is right, Jane agreed, and Rory raised her eyebrows. Jane went on. Mildred must be headed to the location of the Naga. Did you find out where that is? Dharma showed her the map. Somewhere in this group of islands, he said. Griffith will know where those islands are, Drake said. We need to get back to the Bracken. All of the dragon masters will have to work together to find the Naga and stop Maldred. Yes, we must, Dharma agreed. Drake put one hand on Worm. Shall we transport? Worm and Jane, Rory and Jane touched their dragons. Dharma touched Summit, and then all the dragon masters touched Worm. Worm, take us to Bracken, Drake cried. Time is running out. The end.